Apartheid in South Africa, a brutal system of racial segregation, collapsed after decades of resistance and global pressure. Here's how it really happened. Apartheid, established in 1948, was a legal framework designed to enforce racial separation and white minority rule in South Africa. The system categorized people mainly as white, black, colored, or Indian, with each group subjected to severe restrictions on movement, employment, and political participation. The government passed laws that stripped black South Africans of citizenship and confined them to homelands or townships on the outskirts of cities. The roots of apartheid lay in colonial history, but it was the National Party's election victory that formalized it as state policy. Resistance against apartheid began almost immediately. Freedom movements like the African National Congress, or ANC, and the Pan-Africanist Congress organized protests, strikes, and civil disobedience campaigns. Leaders such as Nelson Mandela and Oliver Tambo emerged as symbols of defiance. The Sharpeville Massacre in 1960, where police opened fire on peaceful protesters, killed 69 people and shocked the world. This event prompted the government to ban opposition groups and intensify the armed struggle. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, resistance took both violent and non-violent forms. The Soweto uprising in 1976 marked a turning point as thousands of black schoolchildren protested against the imposition of Afrikaans as a medium of instruction. The government's violent response led to widespread unrest and international condemnation. At the same time, activists launched campaigns to isolate apartheid South Africa economically and politically. Countries and corporations imposed sanctions and boycotts aimed at pressuring the regime to dismantle its racist policies. International pressure grew steadily as the global anti-apartheid movement gained momentum. The United Nations called for arms embargoes and cultural boycotts, while the United States and European nations debated the extent of their involvement. Divisions emerged between those advocating for dialogue and gradual reform and those pushing for stricter sanctions. Internally, the apartheid government faced challenges as unrest spread and economic stability faltered. In 1989, F.W. de Klerk became president and dramatically shifted approach. Recognizing that apartheid could not continue, he began negotiations to end the system peacefully. In 1990, he lifted the ban on the ANC and other political organizations and released Nelson Mandela after 27 years in prison. Mandela's release marked a crucial moment. Fueling hopes for reconciliation and democratic transition. Negotiations were complicated and fraught with tension. Issues such as the future constitution, land rights, and political representation sparked intense debate. Violence and political assassinations persisted as factions resisted change. Yet through compromise and international mediation, a framework for a multiracial democracy gradually took shape. Finally, in 1994, South Africa held its first universal elections. Over 19 million people of all races voted, leading to Nelson Mandela becoming the country's first black president. The election ended decades of institutionalized racial segregation and opened a new chapter in South African history. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission followed to address crimes committed during apartheid, emphasizing restorative justice over retribution. The end of apartheid was not just a political shift, but a profound transformation of society. South Africa's journey highlights the power of sustained resistance, international solidarity, and the possibility of peaceful change even after entrenched oppression. Despite ongoing challenges, the fall of apartheid stands as a landmark achievement in the global struggle for human rights and equality.